What's up? So, we're home. The title of the video is a little clickbaity, but the problems with the van are real. I built this thing basically just to go on vacation to Maine. It's about 1,000 miles from where we live in Ohio. And it was kind of a mad thrash with parts holdups and wrong parts and just, everything takes forever. And yeah, I don't typically, like to rush on something like this. So I didn't have as many, test miles as I like to typically have before I go on a road trip. And this is the oldest thing that we've taken that far. So I was kind of expecting to run into some problems. But overall, it did great going there. Went through, mountains of PA and New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and then up through Maine, and did great. When we were in Maine, it chucked an alternator belt, so by the time I noticed it was getting hot, because it's a water pump belt too, shut her down, got a belt and a spare, put it on, good as gold. One day we were just driving and climbing there's just huge mountains, and started sounding like she was dead on one hole. Started kind of barking back through the intake a little bit, so I'm like, oh, maybe we skanked a plug out or something, because it ran at like 2,600 RPMs for 16 hours basically straight. Changed the plugs, problem persisted. Actually, it sounded like it got worse. So there's only a few things that make it bark back through the intake. It's ignition. Well, that's pretty much ignition. That's basically it. Or valve train problem. Foreshadowing. So at our cabin, I swapped cap and rotor. Sometimes small blocks crossfire cylinder 5 and 7, so I separated the wires. Didn't have a timing light on me, so I kind of winged her by ear until I could get to the hobo freight that was like 50 miles from the cabin to get the timing set. I took a little timing out of it just to be safe, and because the fuel up there is just, it's trash. It's just absolute garbage. But still the problem persisted. So we have one hole that is completely dead, and now, I don't know, it's time to tear into it. My theory was, I'm not going to tear into it while I'm up there, because it ran. I just couldn't get over about 2,000 RPMs. Drive 1,000 miles, never going over 2,000 RPMs. It is hectic. So I'm expecting to find either a burnt valve, collapsed lifter, broken push rod, maybe we pulled a rocker stud out, wiped cam lobe. I don't know. It's probably on the exhaust side, because she's barking back through the intake like you would not believe. If you keep her under like $2,000 with no load, it actually runs perfectly fine. But as soon as you start, feeding her the coal, ain't happy. So I'm gonna pull valve covers off now, and I don't know, let's see what we find. Man, I will tell you what, this is the most awkward vehicle to try to film anything in. You're like in the back seat, and the engine looks like it's about that big in the frame, so whatever. I'm already seeing some oil down here on the valve cover. Let's see what under here looks like. I honestly expected to see a bunch of char from all the backfire and the filter to be black. That actually looks pretty good. Even the little spacer looks fine. And the carb looks fine. That's promising. Well, I'm gonna fire this thing up and let you guys hear the madness that I got to listen to the whole ride home. Sounds okay. Oh, she's cacking a little bit. Ready? Listen, if you listen listen very, very carefully, you'll hear what the problem is. Yeah, that's exhaust coming back in. Okay, so you're all in my way, so I'm going to strip all this off, and I'll get you back in here when the valve cover is about to come off. All right, here we are, moment of truth. Now I've sealed these valve covers on, so there we go. Oh, who else is nervous? I'm nervous. What do we got? What do we got? Huh. There's nothing too exciting. I expected to find carnage when I looked in here, but huh. Okay. Ooh, the problem is deeper. How much deeper? Let's crank it and see if our, oh boy, we're gonna pour oil out of the back here. Well, whatever. Let's crank it and see if everything's moving. Keep an eye on these guys up here. See that little guy? Barely moving. Now, I checked all these rockers before we left. I think we've got a collapsed lifter. Yeah, she moves. It's probably why it's fine at idle. It moves just enough. Now, he's not, wildly loose. He wasn't clattering, so I think we may have a bent pushrod, or, well, pushrod looks fine. At least up here. Either bent pushrod, we might have a collapsed lifter, or the worst option of all is the cam wipe the lobe. Typically you would see some glittery in the oil, and the oil still looks really good. So I'm hoping it's not a wiped cam lobe. Maybe we've just got a collapsed lifter. That's an easy fix. Just for shits and giggles, I'm gonna tighten that and see, take all that slop out of there and see if it that's literally it. It was not even a quarter of a turn. Now let's see. This will tell us right now if we've got a wiped cam lobe. Oh yeah, she's still barely moving. Yep. I think we're in her for a cam. Damn. Alright, well, I guess pull carb intake and distributor and see what's going on underneath. And just like that, with the magic of the internet, it's all taken apart. Now we can watch to see if this lifter comes out of the block, because we already know I tightened that up and nothing moved. Push rod looks fine, so we'll watch that lifter and see what happens. You want to zoom in and see it again? Let's zoom you in. Get you really in there. Oh yeah, that's a shaky. Watch how little it moves. It's a cam. Oh, let's get you back. Boop. Needs a cam. She's wiped. Which is, this is why I didn't tear it apart. in Maine because it's kind of hard to drive it home like this. So, yeah. It's not a huge deal that it needs a cam. It's kind of unfortunate that everything up there has to come off to get it out, but that's not a huge deal. So I'm probably going to run to Summit tomorrow and pick up a cam kit. Kind of in between cams. There's a stock replacement, stock lift, stock duration cam, or there's a little bit hotter option. I mean, I'm only going to do this once, so I should probably just go with the little hotter option. It's pretty tame cam. I probably wouldn't even notice a difference. So I'm going to get this torn apart, get a parts list together so I can make my run out to Summit tomorrow. Okay, she is all torn down about as far as I'm going to go tonight. I'll wait to pull the water pump and stuff off until I got the cam. But I might be replacing the water pump. Listen. I never heard a water pump that sounds like a ghosty. So we might pick up a water pump. Just for, peace of mind, I guess. I'd hate to be driving down the road and the little ghosty decides to let go. But either way. Cool. I've made a huge mess on my floor, and you can see clear through the back of the van, so I think that's enough progress for today. Like I said, I'm going to run to Summit tomorrow and pick up my little list of everything I need to undo what I did today. So next video, we'll tear the front of the motor apart, pull the rockers, push rods, lifters, and get the cam out. I don't know if I'm going to pull the heads on this, unless there's something real suspect on that exhaust valve. I think we're just going to make a game time decision once we can inspect the cam. I think that we're going to find that it's just that front lobe is completely wiped, and that was going to be our problem from the start. So yeah, we'll tear into all that in the next video, and hopefully we can get her running again. I mean, she ran just poorly, but maybe we can get her running a lot better relatively easily. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.